Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
I'm Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Heyo. If Bob sounds like he's tired and wants to die,
Shut up. I wasn't going to talk about
that's
it.
because Bob is a little bitch.
I'm not a little bitch. You're a fucking asshole. Jesus Christ. We're really starting the episode with this? We're already yelling at each other?
Well, you sounded weird, so I thought I should mention why.
Well, yeah, because my tongue hurts.
You're
and it's
kinda
hard to
talking
talk.
like this.
Yeah, I am.
I have pure capsaicin sauce in my fridge. Well, it's not pure capsaicin. It just says capsaicin sauce. It's very spicy. And I was like, Bob, you want a spoonful? And he was like, no, but I'll have a drop. And he had a drop, and he's
No. It was more than a drop.
2 drops.
It was more than 2 drops. It was several drops.
No,
in
it
fact.
was 2.
No, because it like coated the whole bottom of the spoon.
That's because you licked it.
Well, I licked it twice.
It was 2 drops, Bob.
And I feel like I'm dying. Like I'm sweating and it's not hot in here.
It was 2 drops.
Anyway.
That's how spicy it is. I mean,
No, it's
like,
crazy
I'm not-
spicy.
I was joking about the whole bitch thing. It is really spicy.
No, it's so hot.
But-
Like, why do you eat that stuff?
Because you only need like a little bit of it, and you can make your food uneatable.
Yeah, if I'd taken a full spoonful, I think I would have just keeled over dead in your kitchen. I think you would be calling an ambulance right now, and we would not be recording the podcast.
For anyone curious about how we're like off the show, I tried to give Bob a whole spoonful.
Yeah. And even your roommate was like, "Oh yeah, every time he opens the fridge, he tries to give it to me. I always tell him no."
I think it's funny.
It's not funny.
He can't handle hot Cheetos. That is really funny. 'Cause
Whoa, what?
I do it none seriously to him.
He can't handle hot Cheetos.
They're too spicy for him.
Get him up here right now.
He's
We
too-
need to have a conversation on the podcast with this man about his hot Cheeto problem.
Anyways, any news? I have news.
No news this week.
All right,
Nothing cool happened in the time between last episode and this one.
I finally got around to watching Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, yeah, that's actually cool. Yeah. How was it? I'm curious. I think we talked about that a while ago when it was like coming to Shudder, and like I was excited about it. So I want to know your thoughts.
What do you know about it?
It's like an exorcism film, but it's like live TV, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, sure.
But it is supposed to be on live TV.
Yeah.
And it's set during the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting,
Oh, okay.
but I'm not sure how much I like it. What I will say is I really liked the main chunk of it. I was a little iffy on the beginning because it feels exposition-y.
Mm-hmm.
But I did really like how the main part of the movie was shot. Because it was shot like it was supposed to be footage from this TV show called, I think it's The Night Owl. And what was really cool is they had footage that was from the TV show and then the behind-the-scenes stuff. And they switched the quality of the film stock they were using.
Oh, that's sweet.
And like the color, depending on like when it was shot. And I thought all of that was done really well. But I honestly don't know if I like the ending and some of the choices made. So I honestly, I don't know how I feel about it.
You want to throw out like a rough rating around where you would think you would give it? Because of course we'll probably cover it at the show at some point. But this is, we'll probably have different opinions by then. Especially watching it
Probably
again.
not like a great watch through I did, because I think I watched most of it and then I had to finish it because I had to go to work, so I finished it after work.
Mhm. Oh, okay.
I don't know, maybe a 3.5.
Cool. Okay.
Some parts of it were really good. Some parts of it were okay.
Sounds like a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I kind of expected based off of what I saw from the trailers and like the articles I was reading.
You know, there was some controversy about it.
Was there?
They used some AI art.
Gross.
It's fine. Like I get why people are so upset about that, but I'm pretty sure they were fairly upfront about it. And also, they did it before the controversy around AI art existed.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't hate AI art, but I do not appreciate it as much as like actual art from real artists.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real issue with AI art isn't the fact that a computer makes it. It's the fact that there's some logistical issues about theft.
Yeah.
I think that is really where the issues
That
lie.
is a huge problem.
Not so much the fact that a robot makes it. We have tons of stuff that's generated by computers.
Yeah.
But the theft issue is the real concern. But yeah, it was fine.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Podcast? Part of the podcast?
What'd you say?
Podcast? Part of the podcast?
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 Podcast? Sounds like you have an extra A in there somewhere. Sure. We'll go on to the podcast part of the podcast. Now, as you all may know, last week I said I would pick kaiju films this week. I'm a liar, is what I am.
No, you're a truther. Last week you said you would choose...
by the end of the episode I changed my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm not choosing kaiju films.
You're gonna be a
I'm
liar
sorry.
and choose kaiju films?
No, I don't want to choose kaiju films. And look,
Boo!
stop booing me. Stop booing me. I'm right.
Boo!
Oh my god. For context, anytime I send Ben something he doesn't like, he just says boo in our text messages. He goes boo,
Or you're a monster.
or you're a monster. It just depends on what it is. I'm choosing cosmic horror this week because, look, I'm excited about kaiju movies, but I kind of want to save them because I feel like they're going to be all good. Because first of all, every film we've seen this season has been really good so far, except for, well, I guess technically one of them has been bad.
What was it?
The Thing 2011.
Oh.
What do you mean? What else would it have been?
I don't know. I forgot.
Dead Alive was great. Zombie for Sale is great. The Thing is great.
I
So
think I kind of blocked out The Thing 2011. I think that's what
I wish I
happened.
could block out The Thing 2011. I think about that film too much now, and I hate it.
It's right there.
I can see it, and I hate it. But I want to save kaiju films. I'm probably not going to do all 3 in a row like we did last season with remakes, but I probably will just sprinkle them throughout and try and spread them apart. So I'm going to do Cosmic Horror this week. What did I choose last time? I don't remember what the number was. I never do.
So for kaiju films, yeah,
Shut up.
it looks like you chose one.
1. Let's go down the line. What's in spot number 2?
Are you sure?
Oh, god damn you.
Are you sure? You sure?
I didn't say I was sure the first time, but yeah, I'm sure.
Are you sure? You sure? You sure?
Oh, Ben, okay, hold on. Can I ask a question?
Ah.
If I guess the movie, will you tell me?
Sure.
Is it The Society?
No.
Oh, great. Well, let's watch it then.
Oh, okay. Today we're watching In the Mouth of Madness
Oh, that's fucking awesome. Wait,
from 1994.
John Carpenter?
It is a John Carpenter.
Oh, I found your theme for this season. Is every one of these cosmic horror films John Carpenter films?
You think you found this?
Oh
theme
my
for
god.
this season.
So 2 of the 3 are, at least.
I mean, yeah.
Man, I love John Carpenter.
Do you?
Yeah.
The 2 films you've seen. 3,
4?
4.
It's 4 of them, I think.
What's
at
the
least.
fourth one? Halloween 2.
Did he do 3 as well? I'm pretty sure he also did 3 because that was the original idea
He
for
did
2.
do 3, yeah.
Yeah, so and then
Did he
The
direct
Thing.
that?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
sure.
All right, description. We all go a little mad sometimes.
I'm excited about this one. I've heard this movie's very good.
It's an hour and 35 minutes long.
Normal length movie.
Rated R.
Thank God.
IMDb gave it a 7.1 out of 10.
Pretty good.
Tomato meter gave it a 60%. And an audience score of 73%.
Here's what's crazy. I think all those scores are higher, or at least close, to Zombie for Sale.
Yeah, about.
So maybe this will also be fantastic in a 5. We'll see.
Awards, 1 wins, 4 nominations.
Okay.
Notable actors. Do you know anyone who's in this?
No, I don't know anything about this movie.
You should know the main character. Just from, I think, there's a very famous picture of the actor in this film. I think among memes.
I know nothing about this film other than I'm pretty sure isn't it based on a Lovecraft story?
No.
Oh.
We're not doing any Lovecraft this season. I think I said that.
You did tell me that, but why do I remember? Oh, I'm thinking of like Shadow of Innsmouth or something.
No, we'll get into that.
Okay.
The main actor, Sam Neill as John Trent.
Sam Neill.
Do you know who Sam Neill is?
Not off the top of my head.
Dr. Alan Grant in Jurassic Park.
Whoa, that's fucking sweet.
Julie Carmen as Linda Stiles. She was Jerry Dawn in Gloria. I think this is Jorgen Prochnow as Sutter Kane. He was Duke Leto Atreides in Dune 1984, not the new Dune movie.
Was that directed by is it Dune from what's his name?
The 80s.
No, yeah, but what's the name of the director for that film?
I don't know.
It's the weird one where they're in like silver space underpants.
It's the one from the 80s.
Yeah,
yes.
I like that movie.
David Warner as Dr. Wren. Do you remember David Warner?
The name is extremely familiar.
We've seen him, I think, a couple times.
Have we?
He was I guess he was a preacher, but he was definitely a father. And Ice Cream
No
Man.
way, he's back again?
I'm forgetting what other stuff we've seen him in. We've definitely seen him in some other stuff.
Was it The Stepfather? No.
But he was Spicer Lovejoy in Titanic.
Oh.
I know he was in one of the Star Trek movies, too. John Glover as Saperstein. He was Daniel Clamp in Gremlins 2, The New Batch.
I haven't seen Gremlins 2.
Really?
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Have you seen Gremlins?
I've seen Gremlins. Gremlins is
Okay.
great.
Bernie Casey as Robinson. He was Mr. Ryan in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I also haven't seen that. I've heard it's very good, though.
Peter Jason as Mr. Paul. He was Gilbert in They Live.
We haven't seen that.
No, we talked about that last Well, the week before last week.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston as Jackson Harglow. I thought this guy was interesting because he was in a bunch of like religious epic films.
Oh, that's cool.
He was Judah Ben-Hur and Ben-Hur, which I had to mention for whatever reason. Moses in the Ten Commandments.
Oh.
And these are all films from the 50s. But the one I really wanted to mention, he was Detective Thorne in Soylent Green.
I don't know what that is.
Do you not know what Soylent Green is?
No.
Really?
No.
Not even the very famous phrase from that movie?
No.
Oh. Well, I shouldn't tell you that because...
Is that a horror movie?
Kinda. I just nodded, guys. I'm sorry. It's kind of a horror movie.
So we could watch it for the podcast.
Probably.
Okay.
There's a very famous, quote from that film that most people know.
Okay.
But it spoils the reveal of that film.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was surprised. Frances Bay as Mrs. Pickman. Do you know who that is?
No.
My understanding is she's kind of like a fairly famous, old lady character actor.
Oh, that's
She
cool.
didn't start acting till I think she was 56. And then she was in a bunch of smaller parts. I tried to get something you might know her from. She was the grandma in Happy Gilmore.
Oh. Okay. No, I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
That's a good movie.
Wilhelm von Homburg as Simon. This is another guy you might actually know. Let's see. He was Vigo in Ghostbusters 2.
Holy shit. That guy's scary.
The guy in the painting.
That guy's a scary man.
And let's see if you know this one. James in Die Hard.
I've never seen Die Hard. We talked about that.
Oh, you haven't seen the Christmas movie?
It's not a fucking Christmas movie. Shut up. It's not a Christmas movie, and I'm not arguing with you on the podcast about this.
Is.
No, shut up. We're moving on. I'm going to get really mad.
Is it a good Christmas movie?
It's
No.
not a Christmas movie.
Is it a Christmas movie? They guess.
No.
All right, I'm going to hit you. I have these in the other order, but I'm going to do them in the funnier order.
Okay.
Chuck Campbell as Customer.
That sounds familiar.
He should. We've seen him in a couple things. But you might remember him as the guy who had sex with an android, Tsunaran.
Oh my god.
And
Holy
Jason X.
shit. Yeah.
And then finally, let's see what your thoughts are on this. Hayden Christensen
Whoa, 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 whoa,
as
whoa.
Paperboy.
Is from 94?
Yes.
Yo.
You might know him as Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin motherfucking
in
Skywalker.
Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. This is his film debut.
Oh, that's so cool.
So he has a very small part in this film, but
It's still fucking
you do
Hayden
see him
Christensen,
for
bro.
half a second. I thought that was cool.
That is really cool.
The director John Carpenter also directed The Fog. Writer is Michael DeLuca. Apparently he wrote Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare.
No, haven't seen that one.
Wasn't The Final Nightmare.
It was not.
Shocker. Came out in 1991.
Damn.
Budget's estimated at $8 million.
That's a okay amount of money. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything about the international box office, but I did have the domestic, so U.S. and Canada, and that was only $8.9 million.
Damn, barely made any money.
It's made its money back, but you know
Yeah.
that's not a success. Country of origin, United States. The complete title in the U.S. is John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, and the tagline is "Lived any good books lately?"
Hold on, what did you say?
Lived any good books lately?
Lived any? I don't know anything about this movie, by the way.
I know you
so
don't.
I'm very confused right now.
I know. Oh wait, so you were asking if this was a Lovecraft film,
Yeah.
right? There's a reason for that. So first of all, this film is referential to Lovecraft.
Oh, okay.
Obviously it's cosmic horror and stuff, so there's some similarities between the themes and stuff. But the biggest reference is the title. So this film is In the Mouth of Madness, which was purposely chosen because it sounds very similar to a Lovecraft story, At the Mouth of Madness.
That makes more sense.
However, this film isn't based on Lovecraft.
Okay.
It's not like a adaptation or anything.
Cool.
Apparently this film script was written in the late 80s.
Oh.
Didn't come out until the 90s. Part of that seems to be because there was some issues with directors. So Luca apparently actually offered it to Carpenter first, and Carpenter turned it down.
What is it with John Carpenter and turning down films and
I
then
don't
coming
know.
back and directing them later?
Well, if we look at a lot of his older films, they weren't very successful financially,
But they're good movies.
except for Halloween, so he might have just kind of been on that
I mean, I guess.
iffy footsteps. In either case, it kind of went through a couple different potential directors before he eventually just decided to do it. And the last thing I want to mention here is the effects.
Oh, yeah.
So visual effects for the film were done by Industrial Light and Magic, whereas the practical effects were done by the K&B EFX group, which I think we've seen. We saw K&B a little bit ago, right? Did they do
Did
The
we?
Thing?
No.
I don't know. We've seen Canby before.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure
They're
we've
pretty
seen
famous.
Industrial Light and Magic on something. But those are both pretty famous companies for effects. But that's all I got without, spoiling stuff. So,
Okay, yeah. We'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching In the Mouth of Madness.
yep.
That title is a mouthful, by the way. That's a long
In the Mouth of Madness?
Yeah.
Nah, not really.
It feels like a lot.
It just sounded like you forgot the name halfway through.
No, I paused for effect, Benjamin.
Sure you did.
Okay.
In either case, what'd you think?
Cool movie.
Cool movie?
Cool movie. I didn't know if I asked you like partway through if you'd seen this one before.
I don't think so.
Because you seemed just as surprised at some stuff as I was.
I think I've seen some clips from it and stuff, but I don't think I've seen the whole movie.
But it was a really cool movie.
It was really good.
Really cool.
I'm-
That's my big takeaway right now.
You might say it might have been a little scary for Bob.
Okay, yeah, no, we're starting with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
Yeah, this movie scared the shit out of me a couple times. Like, absolutely scared the piss out of me.
In fact, it might be the most scared I've seen Bob in a while.
Yeah, for sure.
So, hopefully that's a good sell. As always, we recommend you go watch it before we spoil anything.
Oh, for sure. This is one of those ones where it's like, I know we say it every time, but like, for sure, try and watch this one without any spoilers, because it goes crazy.
yeah, how stuff breaks down is kind of the point.
Yeah.
And so if you know where everything's going to go, it kind of makes the impact of the film not hit as well. I will say that, this film is heavily inspired by Lovecraft, so there's going to be a lot of stuff that seems familiar if you're knowledgeable about his works, but I think it's definitely worth a blind watch. With that being said, I'm going to give a brief rundown, and then we can get into spoilers and stuff. The film is about Mr. John J. Trent, who Bob thought was named Trent for most
Well,
of the
because
movie.
everyone keeps just calling him Trent.
Well, because they're people he works with.
But like, Trent is like a first name.
No, you only think Trent's the first name because you know a Trent.
But Trent is a first name.
Anyways, Mr. John J. Trent
Oh my
is
God.
a insurance investigator. I think that's not how he describes it. He describes it as like
He investigates for
tax.
fraud.
Yeah, but he looks at fraud, specifically like insurance fraud and stuff like that. And he is asked to investigate this guy. His name's Sutter Kane. And the problem is that Sutter Kane is an author. And in this universe, he's more popular than Stephen King.
Which is a very funny line during the film.
Yes, they actually do reference him. Very clearly, he's kind of like a combination between H.P. Lovecraft, at least book-wise,
Mhm.
but with the over-exaggerated popularity of Stephen King back in like his peak. And the company Sutter Kane works for is insured under John's agency. And what has ended up happening is that Sutter Kane has gone missing, and he's only delivered half of his most recent book. And the issue is that the publishing company that owns that new book has basically already sold it. They've sold the rights to the book in multiple different languages, the rights to the movies. They basically promised it to the public. And, they basically asked their insurance company, hey, either go find Kane's novel so we can publish it, or you're going to have to pay us out $1 bajillion because in this universe, Kane is insanely popular.
Mega famous.
And from that point on, the whole movie's about John going and looking for Kane, but things start to get a little bit funky.
It gets weird.
Some might even say that the lines between fact and fiction begin to blur.
It's a reference to a different episode of the podcast.
Fact or fiction, you decide.
It's a good movie. I like that movie.
What movie was it?
Last broadcast.
It was. All right.
Yeah.
But when I say fact or fiction, I mean the lines between, shall we say, literature and film begin to blur.
Sure.
In either case, definitely think it's worth a watch.
For sure.
A lot of fun. We're going to get into spoilers now. So, right off the bat, we're going to talk about something right in the opening credits of this movie.
I'm glad we're going to start here because I want to know what you were talking about.
So, this happens both on the Blu-ray, so the title screen, but also the opening credits, which are just, credits over black screen. We hear a song.
Yeah.
And I turned the pop and I was like, does this sound familiar to you?
It does sound familiar.
I know you've never heard this song before, but it should. So that song is made by John Carpenter and a guy named Jim Lang. And it was composed for the theme of this movie.
Okay.
They also had the guitarist, I believe Dave Davies of the Kinks work on it as well. It is actually supposed to be a very, very close reference to a very famous song by Metallica that they couldn't get the rights to.
That makes way more sense.
Have you figured it out?
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't know the song, but I recognize that it was like Metallica.
It's Enter Sandman.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Once you know, you can hear it. But
For sure. Oh my god.
Carpenter wanted to use Enter Sandman, couldn't get the rights to it. So he basically he was like, I'll do it myself.
He did. That makes sense.
And for anyone interested, thematically relevant, I just wanted to get that out of the way because it was an interesting little tidbit. Then first thing I want to start with outside of that little aside is Sam Neill.
Oh, he's so good in this movie.
I really like him. I think he's a great actor. You know, I love Jurassic Park. I grew up watching it as a little kid.
He's very good.
I watched it a lot. And so it's cool to see him in other things.
Yeah, it's cool to see him in specifically a horror movie.
And I think he definitely does a great job in this. It's hard to sell. Well, kind of, I know better than you, investigative businessman dude.
Yeah.
But it's even harder to sell, okay, I'm kind of losing my mind, but not really.
You have to, with the way this film plays out, you have to keep a balance of insane, but also still in control. And he does a really, really good job of towing the line at points.
And, you know, I just wanted to mention him right off the bat because I think at its heart, this is very much a character piece.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Really, none of the other characters matter. I hardly know anyone else's name. Not that that's a bizarre thing for me.
No.
But, you know, I think a lot of this film is just super reliant on Sam Neill's performance. And I just want to say I think he does a great job. He really sells everything.
No, he really does. I think he's really, really good.
With that being said, is there anything you want to talk about specifically?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things about the film is the opening. Like, the fact that, and you said this during the movie, I don't know how much you want to spoil, but, like, we open with Sam Neill being thrown in an insane asylum.
Yeah.
And then
No, go ahead.
And then the film is told from his perspective of telling someone else the story of the film, which is super cool.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that if you've read Lovecraft, you'll recognize right away. So there is a very common setup in some of his works, such as like Dagon, where things are being told in past tense. Like you'll have someone who's survived whatever the circumstances is, they'll go mad and they're kind of writing whatever their experiences were down. And, you know, this film does exactly that. We see Sam Neill after he's lost his mind in an insane asylum, and we get to hear him tell the story. I think that's a really cool setup.
It's a great setup, especially for a film like this where it's like things get weird. So it's like now we have unreliable narrator to throw into the mix of like how much of this is Sam Neill being a madman and how much of this actually happened. And I think that's fairly interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're definitely right about that. But I think the thing I like besides, you know, the whole reference that it serves as is the fact that it tells me that things are going to go horrifically wrong.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, you know, for how good it looks at times, it's never going to end that way.
Yeah, because you know how we're going to end up. Where we end up is not a good place.
And I thought that was really cool.
No, it is really cool because there's certain points where you're like, well, how do we get to that point? You know what I mean? It seems very convoluted and kind of crazy, but it all wraps up well.
Yeah, it's just a nice little framing narrative. Plus, you know, we do get a couple brief scenes before Sam Neill starts telling his story. And I do want to note that for the most part, he's weirdly convincing that he's not crazy.
Yeah.
And that he's pretending to be crazy. And I do think that adds another level of, oh, there's something deeper going on to the narrative we're being told. And I think that is a really good way to set up the story because you haven't figured it out from the tagline or some of my brief descriptions of the film. It's very meta.
Yeah, super meta.
Now, I don't want to get too much into that because I don't want to, you know, spoil the ending of this film or too much about it. But I think I gave a bit of this away in, you know, my brief description, so I will get into this. essentially what's happening in this movie, or at least what's happening to John, is that the events in the Sudden Kane books, and it's very specifically Horror at Hobbs End combined with the unpublished book from Kane, In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
Go figure, that's the name of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Are slowly interceding with his reality. And a lot of the film is like, a character will talk about something that they read in a book.
Yep.
Or they'll read something and it happens. And I think that's just cool.
No, it's really cool because look, the category for this is cosmic horror, and you can look at cosmic horror in a couple of ways. Body horror, which is a good portion of this movie is some body horror stuff, which is cool. But the big thing that I really love is fear of the unknown and things being incomprehensible. In this movie, by tackling the things he's experiencing in through the narrative of the book, makes it super the meta element works because it is incomprehensible to the characters.
Yeah, it really confuses what's real and what's fake, both
Yeah.
for the character and for the audience. And that's, I think, really on the nose, but it
But it works.
works.
But I think it only works because it's executed so well. Because if you did the same thing and it wasn't executed as well as it was, it just feels cheesy.
I don't even know if cheesy so much as preachy.
Yeah.
Like it was just telling you stuff.
It's just too on the nose, I guess. But this does a really good balance of making it feel like it's a mystery at the same time as telling us directly without having to do it.
And I think that really does come down to the fact that, while there's a lot of these meta elements in the movie, we as the audience haven't read any of the Sudden Kane books,
Yeah.
so we don't know what's going to happen. We're kind of in a very similar situation to John, who hasn't really read them
Mm-hmm.
either. And I do think that is very important.
Yeah. We haven't really talked about any of the creepy effect stuff in this film or any of the monster stuff or any of the makeup or anything like that, but all of the effects look really cool. Even the stuff that is CGI for 1994, it looks fucking sweet.
Yeah, and there's very little of it. I mean, it's one of those things where, as the movie gets progressively weirder, the story gets off the rails, we see more stuff that is essentially beyond human understanding. We start with some weird makeup on people's faces, maybe some contacts, and then we move on to full-on monstrous stuff.
And reality bending bullshit.
And, I think that escalation's important because it sells us on what we see. But like Bob said, it all looks great. K&B does great stuff, for practical effects. I thought all that looks great. They have some of the classic tentacles and weird monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff was very reminiscent of the Fishmen from Dagon.
Yeah,
that
that was cool.
Or Shadow over Innsmouth, I guess is more accurate. But, like you said, I think the CGI also looked great. There's not a lot of it until the end.
Mm-hmm.
There's one very particular scene
But
that
it looks
I can think of.
fantastic.
And it looks surprisingly good. You can tell it's 90s
CGI, but I mean, it's way better than I expected.
not bad. And again, I think that really helps sell the escalation of weirdness in this film.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that is a huge takeaway for me is it's just a very, very cool concept, executed really well, but the concept in and of itself is very, very weird. And the fact that it's weird works because it is a cosmic horror film.
Yeah, and this is, I think, where I have to give my disclaimer of, I really like this movie.
Yeah.
I'll be straight up with it. I think it's really cool. I think it's very interesting. But I'm someone who likes metatextual films like this.
Mhm.
If you've seen our One Cut of the Dead review, you'll know how much me and Bob like that movie.
Yeah.
So this film is definitely up my alley, and I'm sure it was up Bob's as well. But it is very Lovecraftian,
Mm-hmm.
and I can definitely get where this film would be confusing, if not unpleasant or boring for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it's super referential, right? And if you don't get what it's going for, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, because it's not just referential to Lovecraft, it's referential to itself.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a hard thing if you're unable to put yourself in the headspace of what the story's going
for.
for.
A casual movie enjoyer, someone who's just casually watching a film, you probably won't get as good of an experience as we had because, we're sitting here doing a podcast about it. So we're paying attention and trying to take in everything as we go. And so we're catching the small stuff. And if you're not trying to do that and just sit down and watch it, you're probably not going to have that good of a time.
Yeah, definitely not. And, it's just weird movies aren't always
They're not for everybody.
mainstream. In either case, I mean, we can look at some of the other stuff that worked really well in this film. Setting stuff was all great. Everything
it's
looked
so
pretty.
cool.
I was shocked with how nice of areas they were able to film in.
Yeah, for sure.
Not just sets that they made themselves, but they got some really cool picturesque towns and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It really felt reminiscent of something you'd hear about in a Lovecraft book or a Stephen King story.
Exactly. That's totally how I felt.
Or just things that stood out as oh, this shouldn't be here. Like there was this big church made of stone and
literal mega church, fucking massive.
And yet it feels old and ancient. And they were really good at mixing those things together with cinematography and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. Everything shot really well.
It is. There are lots of really cool uses of camera angles to create unreal scenes, if that makes sense. Like the way they use the camera a lot of the time adds to the fact that it is a cosmic horror film, and you're just looking at shit from the wildest of angles, so it feels unreal.
Yeah, there's a lot of voyeuristic shots too, where
yeah,
things are really far away and the camera's in an awkward position, so it feels like someone's spying on the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing I'm going to mention with the cinematography here and how it combines the landscape we're filming in is it makes everything feel very unnerving.
Yeah.
And, I mentioned how this movie really scared Bob, and I think the thing that scared him wasn't necessarily anything specific, but it was more that you seemed on edge the whole film.
No, this movie's great at creating tension by this is something I love in films. But things staying on a shot for just long enough that it feels weird, and then using that to scare you or make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's such an effective technique, and it works on me all the time.
There was a couple specific scenes that scared the crap out of you. And, they were, oh, there's something there. But they weren't necessarily jump scares.
Yeah.
They were more of camera framing stuff where things just appeared out of screen and you just weren't expecting it because it lulled you into a false set of comfort.
Sure.
And I thought that all that was executed really well. I'm sure you'll hear some of that later where Bob...
Oh, yeah.
He got mad.
There are a couple outtakes where I got mad. No, that's another thing I really like about this movie is it's slow. It's an hour and a half, which is like a normal length movie. That's fine. But you really don't get to any of the insane shit till an hour. And
no,
the fact
because that's when the character starts losing their mind.
Well, the fact that it takes it so slow and you're for so long staying with John and being oh, everything is fine. It's normal. Everything is because it takes so long to build up, by the time you get to the insane shit, it is actually horrific. It's actually horrifying. They spend enough time creating enough tension to make it work. You know what I mean? There are plenty of movies where it's it comes out the gate swinging, so by the time you're at the end of the movie, you've already seen all these horrible things, and you feel numb to it. But this movie takes a very slow, methodical approach to it, and I really like that.
Yeah. Additionally, besides, ramping stuff up, the film also just fucks with the audience perception.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we see stuff that's weird, but more importantly, sometimes us as the audience and Sam Neill's character, John, just aren't shown stuff.
Yep.
That allegedly happened, and it's a great way to show that disconnect from reality that I think emphasizes all that fairly well.
Or we are shown stuff, and John is also shown stuff, and then John and us are both shown that it's not real. And then it's okay, but was it maybe? Who knows? It's the perfect mix of unreal stuff with real stuff. It just meshes so well together. It's such a good balance, and this movie really, once again, being pleasantly surprised by a film on the podcast. 2 in a row, Ben.
Talking about last week?
Yeah.
Fair enough. No, I thought it was really good. John Carpenter does a great job, and I think everyone does.
No, there's nothing in this movie that stands out for me going, oh, I didn't like that. Because there's something about it that I couldn't put my finger on, but it scratches a certain weird itch in my brain that I really like.
Is it because it feels like a cosmic horror story about a cosmic horror story about that cosmic horror story being made?
Kind of. I don't know. It's just, it's cool. That's
Bob's circles.
Circles. It's not a Venn diagram. It is just one circle. I don't know. I really, really like this movie. I don't know. I'm in a weird one with this because it's like I know I can't tell you why I like it so much. I just know that I do.
Yeah, and I think that just has more to say with how well executed the film was. Like, it feels artfully done.
Yeah.
And I know that's a very vague concept, but the film really just, it spoon feeds us just enough for the concept to work, but not so much that it gets old.
Yeah. Or it feels like it's forced.
And, that's a hard line to walk. And, it makes the film, I think, fairly impressive.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about Sutter Kane as a character yet. Because, of course, he's in the movie. I think he's fucking awesome. Like, he's so cool.
Yeah. He's
like maniacally evil, and it's fun.
Yeah, he's a bit weird. I'm not sure necessarily how to describe him. He's not obviously like your traditional horror author.
No.
He's more... It's a weird reference. He reminds me of the kid from The Omen, but if he grew up.
Oh, no, that's so good. That's actually such a good fucking way to describe him. I hadn't even thought about that.
He's just vaguely maniacal, but his purpose is mostly benign.
Yeah.
Like, the whole time, he's just writing.
Yeah.
But everything he does has bad consequences.
Absolutely horrific consequences for everyone involved.
And, just like Sam Neill, I think he was played very well.
Yeah.
He was really the only other character in the movie that I think was amazing. There is a female character in most of the film. Her name's Lydia, correct? No? What was it?
I don't know what her first name was, but everyone just kept calling her Styles because that was her last name. Styles was her last name, and that's what everyone called her. It might be Linda.
Linda.
Yep.
That's what it is. I knew it was an L word. No, but I thought she was fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
She's kind of the character that loses her mind before John.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, she's not a character so much as a character device.
She is a plot device because she really shows you what can happen to John. You know what I mean? Like, she's the thing that foretells the bad things that are possible.
And so while she gets a lot of screen time, just like I think Kane does, or like John does, it's not as impactful in the same way.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, she's just less of a character.
But the actor, I think, did a pretty decent job.
No, she's cool. I will say I like some of the horrible things that happen to her a lot. They're really cool.
That's true.
Like, that, it's so sweet. You know what I'm talking about specifically.
I know what you're talking about. There's some fun things that happen to people that suck, but...
Oh, yeah. No, I don't want them to happen to me, but they're fun to look at.
Yeah. Before we go on to anything else, I will mention here, because it just came to me, but, I know some people have issues with gore and stuff like that, and we've mentioned that this does have some creature effects and stuff. Tentacles, classic stuff like that. Not to mention, we covered The Thing earlier on.
True.
And, the same director and stuff. And I do want to say that this film is surprisingly not that gross or graphic.
It's not that graphic at all, really. I mean, there's some blood.
And there's some tentacle stuff, but it's mostly psychological horror.
Yeah.
And I do need to note that, because if you go in expecting it to be like cosmic horror in the same way The Thing is, it's not. This is first and foremost a psychological take on cosmic horror, and that is a very different thing.
I think is like the two routes you can go, right? With cosmic horror. It's either you go full on body horror, tentacles, like gross, inconceivable monster, or you go with psychological, like thriller, sort of crazy, maniacal bullshit.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's what this film is. It's not the focus on something beyond our understanding. It's a focus on
our understanding becoming unreal. And that's fucking sweet.
What interacting with something beyond our understanding does to us.
And it's so cool. I mean, that's a classic Lovecraft thing, or just, general cosmic horror writing, and I think that's really fun.
Yeah, and I thought it was really well done. Okay, well, I personally don't know how much more I have to talk about here, because I don't want to spoil the end of this film.
No, absolutely not. This is, once again, like we did on last week's episode, I don't want to talk about the ending because it's too good. As soon as Kane reveals something, I go, holy shit, that's crazy.
I will say, the ending gets wacko, but
it's fucking sweet.
It's great, and I'm sure if you've been on the internet long enough, you might have seen some scenes from the very end of this film, because there's some clips of Sam Neill that are fairly well known in at least the film community, just for being iconic. But I thought it was a good way to end this film.
Same. Agreed.
At the very least, though, it wasn't fulfilling. You always want to know more, but I think it was the appropriate way to end the film.
No, it's the perfect way to end a movie like this. Because if it had a fulfilling ending, then it sucks.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, well, I don't care anymore.
They left you not knowing, and that's the
great,
point.
because that is the entire point.
In either case, though, I think, are you okay with doing reviews and ratings and stuff and recommendations? Okay. Recommendations, then?
If you like Sam Neill, man, is he good in this movie. Man, he's good. Such a good job as, like, basically the main character. If you like John Carpenter, man does not miss. He doesn't fucking miss. This guy's so good at this thing. Making horror movies, that is. And music. Man, the music in this movie is good. If you like Lovecraft and don't want to, like, read a direct H.P. Lovecraft story, it's very Lovecraft inspired, and it's really, really fucking cool. If you want a psychological horror movie, we haven't watched a ton of really, like, crazy psychological horror movies like this on the podcast. They're really fun. They're really cool. I like them a lot. They're very scary to me, and I like that.
I was so scared.
I think that's it, Ben.
Okay. Like Bob said, if you're a fan of anyone who's associated with this project, Sam Neill, John Carpenter, etc., I'd recommend you check it out. I think the work is generally pretty good, and I think most of the people in the film do a very good job to sell it. The big thing is if you're a fan of like Lovecraft, cosmic horror, but more importantly, psychological horror, I do think while it's a weird film, and you definitely have to be in the right mood or at least understanding for the film, it executes itself very, very well, and I do think it is worth a watch if you think you're going to be a fan of it. In either case, you want to rate it?
I really like this movie.
Oh, did you?
Yep. But I don't know if I could give it a 5. And here's my argument, and I want to hear your argument too, or if you disagree or agree with me. I think it's too weird. And I don't know if that's the movie's fault or not. Like, I can't just go to someone and show them this movie and be like, you will like this. You know what I mean? And that I don't know if that hurts it or not because of what the film is going for and the concept of the film in general. So I'm in a weird spot where I want to give it a 5 because I enjoyed it that much. I thought it was that fun to watch. But, like, I don't know. I don't know.
See, for me, I personally don't think a film has to be made for every audience. You know, that's kind of impossible. And this film is weird, but it's intended to be weird. It's a weird film that's intended to blur the lines between, you know, reality and fiction. It's supposed to reference Lovecraft. It's supposed to be cosmic horror. And, you know, that's not a thing for everyone. And I think when you're judging a film like this, it shouldn't be so much, you know, how does this film appeal to a general audience so much as it's, okay, how well does this film do what it's aiming for? Generally speaking, that's always how I try to do movies. I've talked about it in the past where I'm like, okay, a 3 is, it does what it should do. 4 is kind of go above that. And then 5 is essentially perfecting what it is. And I really do think this film does this whole cosmic horror meta-narrative thing perfectly. I really don't know any way I could think they'd tell that story better because it's just so out there. It's so funky. And while that might not appeal to some people, I think if you are the target audience of this film, you're really going to appreciate how much this film commits to its main concept. So I'm going to give it a 5. That was my long spiel for that. I do think it deserves it. It was well earned.
No, you're right. I agree. I needed a little convincing because there's just a part of me that, like, I get why someone watching this movie casually wouldn't like it as much. You know what I mean?
It's niche, and we watch a lot of niche films on this podcast that we give 5s because we really like them. And, you know, part of that comes down to the fact that we have similar taste in movies, and I tend to pick good movies for this film, or at least or good movies for the podcast, and I at least try to. And I think that can definitely skew our rating systems sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
But you know, it's also opinion based.
True. And also, like, we're sitting down and critically watching these films. We're not watching them casually. You know what I mean? And I said this a while ago, but I rewatched Urban Legend with my girlfriend and had a much better time than we watched on the podcast.
That is also fair.
So it's like, it really depends on who you're watching the film with, what's like the context and everything. But I think I agree. I will give this movie a 5 just because, once again, I was pleasantly surprised. Like, I knew I was probably going to like it. It's motherfucking John Carpenter. Like, why won't I like it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was really into it.
No, I think you did a good job. I can definitely see why it didn't do well.
Sure. Yeah,
Definitely
for sure.
Not a movie for everyone, but I will remember it fondly.
Oh, for sure.
That's what's important.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we can go to the outtakes now.
Yeah, prepare to hear me scream. I'm going to warn you now. They're probably really loud. I kind of lost my shit at some points because I was not comfortable.
I was having a good time.
I know you were. You were fucking laughing at me.
Well, we'll be back in a second.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of In the Mouth of Madness so far. I really like this movie, even though it's super duper weird. I think it's a really good time and a very interesting take on cosmic horror. But without further ado, let's get into the outtakes. This first clip is the beginning of this movie scaring the absolute piss out of me. No, this movie's scary as fuck, Ben. Oh my god. What the fuck? Oh. No, this
Probably gonna shake your pants.
I'm not gonna shit my pants, but I am very scared. This next clip is me freaking the fuck out. Fuck me, bro! Holy shit, that scared the fuck out of me. No. Oh No. Oh my god, Ben. I'm gonna start crying. Oh my god. This next clip is the body horror elements of this film really starting to get to me. What the fuck?
She has flesh tentacles.
Yeah, I noticed, Ben.
Well, I'm just making sure. Maybe you didn't see him.
Oh. Kill yourself. This next clip is the movie posing a question and me giving a very truthful answer. Do you read Sutter Kane? No, I won't. Thank you. Actually,
Bob would read it.
if it gave me cool, like, demonic tentacle powers, yeah.
Well, I think...
Oh. Fuck you, movie. Suck my fucking dick. Oh my god, that scared the fuck out of me. I didn't even get, like, a human noise. I just, like, got the piss scared out of me.
You kind of just repeated the noise they made.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have any announcements, Ben?
Nothing new. Bob's staring at me. I think he wants me to say something. We're going to do Unholy Trinity at some point and Convention Prep at some point. Otherwise, check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other places on the internet. If you're checking us out on anything like podcast specific, please leave us a quick review or a rating. That really helps us out getting recommended to other people on those platforms. Additionally, if you like the podcast, it really helps us if you recommend it to a friend. Really share this around like you would your favorite book.
Ooh, good one.
In either case, though, you can also listen to the podcast on YouTube, which, while not the best for audio-only content, is kind of nice because it helps us out. Reading analytics for our RSS feed sucks. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But reading like YouTube subscriptions and likes like that is much easier. So do that. It helps us. Otherwise, YouTube does have a couple cool tools you might enjoy. There's a bell button, which lets you get notified whenever we post something out of our usual schedule times. That can be pretty useful in case we post like a holiday episode or a double feature. There's also a search button, which lets you search key terms in all our videos in case you're looking for something like a movie title. See if we've covered a movie. I know we've covered a lot at this point. Some of it's more obscure than others, so it might be a fun way to look for something you want to listen to. But the big thing with YouTube is it's one of the two major places to communicate with us at. You can do that in the comment section of a specific video, or you can go over to Twitter at Beware the Board and go talk to Bob. Maybe recommend him some vacation spots in the middle of nowhere, Maine, or talk to him about the movie adaptation of our podcast, or how we're being translated into 18 different languages. That's not true, by the way. I just need to stress that.
Yeah, no, that was a joke from the movie. Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter at Beware the Board. It's where we post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you want to know about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes, which is a hidden movie cover you can reveal, so you can watch the film before we do. So when we release the episode, you don't get any spoilers or being vague about stuff, you know what we're talking about. Then on Fridays, or whatever the episode goes live, I always post a link to the episode whenever it goes up. So if you ever miss an upload or want to know something went up, there's always a link on our Twitter. Last thing, we make short form content for the show.
Bob's made it in the past.
True. Yeah, I've made one fairly recently.
Yeah.
So if you like short form content and want to support the show, check us out at Beware the Board on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. Ben, I think that's it.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week for maybe kaiju movies.
No, we won't. Well, we'll see you next week. Kaiju movies up in the air.
Bob's a little bitch.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you guys next time.